Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here representing Alltech, but also in such a great event where you combine the academia and the industry. I believe this is what drives the growth and the opening in new opportunities for not just talents, but also for industries to come and explore markets like Brazil. I'll talk a little bit about Alltech, and for the ones that are not familiar about Alltech, Alltech is a company based in Kentucky, but it's actually founded by Irishmen, scientists, and that's what's the beauty of this event, because the next event is in Dublin, and we're very excited to be part of that event as well. And Dr. Pierce Lyons, after getting his PhD and actually dedicated his career into the fermentation and alcohol, ethanol industry, he decided to move with his family to Kentucky. And then, even though alcohol and ethanol was his drive, he actually identified an opportunity that he could change the way that agriculture would produce animal protein. And through his knowledge about fermentation, he pretty much creates a new segment to the animal industry. Animal industry until the 80s was basically biologicals, vaccines, antibiotics or growth promoters, and also vitamins and amino acids. And through his research and knowledge and innovation and curiosity, he was able to create a new way to produce animals on a natural way. And that's how Alltech became a global company. A person that got $10,000 from his cousin and started to put his mind and his focus and his drive into this, looking for solutions where he perceived that there was a change happening in agriculture and he needed to speed that, he was able to, from that $10,000, evolve into a company that today is close to $3 billion in revenues. And Brazil is a big part of that. Not just Brazil and several other countries. We are basically present in 90 countries. We do business in 140 countries. We have over 6,000 people, actually family members. We don't talk about company, talk as a family. And then, more important, it's very scientific driven. We have more than 100 scientists working on the R&D and actually development of technology that we believe can change and continue to change and strive the agriculture for the better future. And when we like to segment the Alltech growth or segment Alltech history in decades, I think that explains it all. So basically, the first 10 years of Alltech was about innovation, was about understanding what would change agriculture forever. And that first 10 years of Alltech, we actually was able to launch over 70 products that still today it's in widely used, is a benchmark, and actually what I just mentioned, create a different segment for the animal nutrition. Later on also in the crop protection and so on, and still today is the big drive of the growth of our company. The second decade of Alltech as a company, we had a goal, and the goal is not just be an American-based company. And then the goal was to really take our message worldwide. And that was the geographic expansion of Alltech. And I'll explain a little bit later, that's why the reason we're here in Brazil. In the third decade, with the mentality of reaching $1 billion as a company, we need to, of course, own our own capabilities to production, to deliver that products to the customers, to deliver that product in time, and that's when Alltech started to expand their production capacity, and today we have over 75 to 80 plants around the globe. And in fact, in Brazil, we have the largest yeast plant specific to animal nutrition based in São Pedro de Ivaí, just about 80 kilometers from Maringá, where our headquarters for the country is. The fourth decade is actually maybe one of the most exciting and more challenging, I would say. It was the time that Alltech was always grew through organic growth and actually maximize our knowledge into expanding our business in many areas of the globe. We decided to go through the phase of acquisitions. We need to be closer to the market. We need to be closer to the end consumer. And we thought that that would be a good idea to identify companies that actually had that approach and use those as a benchmark for the industry. And we start several acquisitions, totalizing 28 acquisitions until today. big learning curve. We bought companies that actually were Alltech clients that would compete with our customers and so on. But at the end of those now 15 years, we learned that that was crucial for us to make sure that we actually can deliver our products, our technology to the customers the way that we learn in our research facilities, we learn in partnership with universities, and actually the customers can have a direct and a much more faster feedback to us to continue to evolve. And of course, now the last 5 years is actually how can we utilize this global platform? How can we actually utilize our global footprint to deliver faster, accurate, and continues to innovate to strive as an agriculture company worldwide. So this is in a nutshell what we have been doing for the last 5 years, and we hope we'll continue to do that for the next maybe 50 years. When you look at Alltech in Latin America, and that's my responsibility, we are from Mexico all the way to Uruguay. We actually do business in all of the countries in Latin America, but we actually focus on the countries with more potential. So we have 16 operations in the region, where we started back in 1993. And one of the persons that we are here today, I have to say that's Aidan Connolly that started all that. We're talking about talents, and probably Aidan was a talent back in the day, where an Irishman recently married decided to come to Brazil in 1993. A lot of you were not born in 1993, but who was see? So who was already, I was probably finishing high school. 1993, he had like a Santana Volkswagen without speaking Portuguese, moved to Curitiba and drove all over the country, visiting farms and the large Sadia, Perdigão all the time. Imagine that. That was the way that Alltech started. And not just in Brazil. We started in Mexico like that, we started in Chile like that, in Peru and so on. So that was the kind of a drive, and that was the kind of talent that you need to require, or Alltech requires for you to be part of our team. And probably it's still today. The talents are still there, it's just the requirements and probably the timing that's different than back in the day. But today, this is one of the top regions for Alltech worldwide. I just mentioned that Brazil is 10% of the revenue, of course, because we had a lot of acquisitions in North America, but Latin America is quite substantially important for the region, for the globe as well. When it comes to Brazil, as we just mentioned 10%, we're talking about 2 billion reais in revenues based in 3 companies, Alltech Crop Science. 2017, Alltech acquired Guabi, 50-year brand, top-notch brand when it comes to horse feed, tilapia, and so on. And that was a big change for Alltech life in Brazil, and then we continue to see synergies and actually a big response that we had since that acquisition. And more recently, 3 months ago, we opened Ideagro in Maringá with the partnership with another university there. That's a Spanish company that actually does a lot of research regarding soil, microbiome, and so on. And we believe that this is going to accelerate our offers and penetration when it comes to crop protection. But as we're here to talk about talent, and then the talent is, we believe that's the growth. That's what would continue to drive the growth of the company. And I remember back in the day when Dr. Lyons used to come to us, unfortunately he passed in 2018, he used to say, team, together we achieve more. However, without talent, there's no team. There's no together. There's no more. So if we don't find that talent is the center of your purpose, of your company, and you need to be every day, before going to the office, before going to work, say, what the person that's missing in my company? What kind of talent I need to bring to actually go and achieve those crazy budgets and targets that, of course, they always want us to achieve crazy targets at the end of the day. What kind of talent we need? And that's how we live. That's Alltech life. That's the Alltech leadership, not just in Brazil, Latin America, and global-wide. Who can we bring to make our life easier to achieve those growths. Because when we see, as Alltechians, as we call ourselves, we need to be supportive to environment. We need to continue to be learning and training. Curiosity is the base of our Alltechians motto. Global exposure, that's who we are. 140 countries. It doesn't matter if you're working in Mato Grosso. You need to be aware what's happening worldwide, what's happening in Thailand, what's happening in Tokyo, what's happening in North America. Mentorship, you know, it's our job to make sure that we are engaging these new talents, developing them, and they can be the next Paulo in 15, 10 years, or even 5 years. There's no rule. There's no 15 years for you to be a director. If you're good, you can be a director in much shorter time. So that's the kind of way that we work. And of course, very adaptive to new roles. That's what we make sure that when we get a talent, when we get a new hire, that they are flexible. Oh, but I was hired to be a quality control manager. But hey, there's opportunity for you to go into the production. No, but I'm a quality control. We want those guys to be flexible, because with that flexibility, that's how we create and generate new leaders. And then, of course, we have our program. Our program, when you first start in the company, you go what we call the onboarding program. Used to be face-to-face, used to be 4 weeks on the road with the senior salesperson or the senior engineer, manager, whatever. Now, the technology brought us the online, so it's a hybrid. So you still do the face-to-face, but you can actually have part of your onboarding program with somebody that's living in Beijing or somebody that's in Hungary, because that guy is doing something different that actually can help our business in Brazil. Also, continuous education. As I said, technology has changed our lives. And after pandemic, we learned that we could use technology to maximize the speed of communications and educations of our team. So now we have the Alltech Learning Hub, where we have more than 1,000 courses. Some of them are very specific to our culture and business, but some of them are just courses that are important for poultry or for finance or even for accounting and so on. So it's why there, you 24/7, all year round, you have access to those kind of trainings. What I like the most is actually back to basics. That's something, maybe because that was my first training after doing my immersion here in Brazil in 2001. Because you would go to Kentucky, our headquarters, and spend a week there with the president and owner, and then his only focus was to teach you what is all about Alltech, the culture, why you're here, what we want you to do. And we're still doing that. Of course, we're a much larger company now. There's no way to take 6,000 employees every year to Kentucky, but we continue to do twice a year, selecting the new people that we believe that needs to go on those courses. Pilot projects, and that's maybe something that we're going to discuss later on questions and answers, like you can adapt. You can see what they're doing in Ireland, maybe it serves to Brazil, maybe not. Adapt in a way that it's more tailored to the Brazilian culture or Chilean culture or Costa Rican culture and so on. And as I mentioned, the legacy programs is something that is quite unique, because you do the talent development program twice a year, but you also have the career development program, which would select 12 people every year, and these talents, they can be engineers, they can be veterinarians, they can be accountants. They would go and spend 3 months at a time in different places in the world. And after a year, they would go to almost like a managerial position, trying to push different ideas in different ways and change the ways that we're seeing things. Normally, of course, people right off school, right off their masters and PhDs, but actually some of those early, one of our top leaders are coming out of this program, and probably some of you already read about the mini MBA case that was developed by Aiden and UCD in Dublin, and then this is something that was read for IFAMA case, and it's very unique. We have 540 people in this program right now. A lot of the current leadership of Alltech came from this program, and it's super unique and super interesting. This is basically what they expect from the leaders. It's quite a high bar. I don't know if I have all of those 10s. Maybe I need 20 more years to kind of continue to work on this, but this is what they expect the leadership to have. However, we know that the talent needs to have special skills. And those skills are changing along our decades. So today, I think we have AI there, AI savvy. For sure, it was not there when I was hired. But basically, that's why you need to understand what's the next skills that you need as your talents to be and bring them on board. To finalize, we believe that agriculture has the greatest potential to shape our future. Marco said today, and several others said today, we have the potential to do that. Unfortunately, that's not the story that's being told out there. Everything, or most of the things that we hear about agriculture is negative, has a negative perspective. And as a company, we need to show the purpose that Alltech has with agriculture. And with that, Dr. Mark Lyons, our president and owner, said, I'm very mad the way that they're doing. And he sent 2 journalists for 2 years to travel more than 20 countries to visit farmers, research institutes, universities, and also people that were pro and against the agro, and trying to understand what would be a world without cows. And probably you've heard something about that. Out of those 2 years, he came with a documentary of 90 minutes that's ready to go, that talks about what's the impact of animals, ruminants, in the world, showing the pros and the cons, and coming to the end, concluding that it's impossible to have a world without cows. So this is actually now in several film festivals around the globe. Our goal is very soon to be one of those streaming platforms, even though it's very complicated. But this has been shown in several different companies, McDonald's, JBS, and so on. And it's actually one of the features at COP30, COP30 in Belém very soon. So this is about Alltech, it's about talents, how we manage it, and thanks for the opportunity.